You saw the message too late and felt your stomach drop before your mind caught up. The appointment was real, important, and somehow never became real inside you. Not delayed, not canceled, not consciously ignored, just gone until it was gone. And now your phone feels heavier because someone else was waiting for you. Maybe a doctor, maybe a client, maybe a friend who cleared out their day. So you begin the quiet performance of sounding more in control than you feel. You type with careful panic, trying to shrink the damage with the right tone. And underneath the apology is the same old fear you never fully say out loud. Why do I keep forgetting things that matter before they become emergencies? The answer is not that you do not care. It is usually something deeper. What makes this pattern so confusing is that it rarely looks like forgetfulness from the inside. It feels more like life kept moving and the appointment never fully entered the mental foreground. You heard it. You agreed to it. You may have even meant it with complete sincerity in the moment. But meaning something and mentally securing it are two very different acts inside the brain. A lot of people assume forgetting appointments means they are careless or secretly irresponsible. But in many cases, the real issue is not character. It is weak future encoding under mental strain. The brain does not treat every commitment equally just because you consciously say yes to it. It favors what feels urgent now, what is visible now, what is emotionally active right now. An appointment scheduled for next Tuesday often has none of those advantages when it first appears. It arrives as information with no weight, no texture, and no immediate consequence attached to it. So the mind registers it briefly, then places it beside dozens of other unfinished mental fragments. And once that happens, the future event stops feeling like something alive and starts fading quietly. This is why people can deeply care about an appointment and still fail to protect it in memory. The problem is often not a lack of concern, but a lack of internal structure around future time. And once you understand that, the behavior starts looking less immoral and far more psychological. Your brain is not designed to treat the future with the same intensity it gives the present moment. It is constantly scanning for what is immediate, emotional, visible, urgent, and impossible to ignore. That is why a stressful text can dominate your mind while an appointment next week stays strangely thin. The future rarely feels real when it first arrives. It feels distant, clean, and easy to trust later. An appointment is often nothing more than a sentence heard while your mind is already elsewhere. You may be cooking, replying, driving, working, recovering, worrying, or trying to finish something else. So the event enters a brain that is already crowded and gets stored with very little depth or force. It has no image, no emotional charge, no sensory texture, and no immediate pressure holding it in place. Compared to everything else competing for attention, it is mentally quiet and easy to push to the side. And the brain is ruthless about what it protects. It saves what feels meaningful in the current moment. That does not mean the appointment was meaningless to you. It means it was not mentally activated enough. People who forget appointments easily are often not forgetting life. They are forgetting low-pressure futures. They may remember intense conversations, unfinished conflict, or random details from 3 weeks ago instead. But a future obligation without urgency can pass through the mind like light through open curtains. Not because they are careless, but because the brain loves relevance more than intention alone. Most people think remembering an appointment happens the moment they hear and accept the date and time. But that first moment of contact is often much weaker than it feels, especially in distracted states. The mind mistakes recognition for storage and assumes a future task is safer than it really is. You tell yourself you will remember because right now it feels obvious, organized, and completely secure. But obvious in the moment does not mean durable once the moment disappears and new input takes over. This is where chronic appointment forgetting often begins, not in neglect, but in false mental confidence. The event was acknowledged, but it was never deeply installed into your internal map of the future. It remained a loose fact, not a bonded commitment attached to place, sequence, or emotional meaning. And the brain does not protect loose facts very well when the day keeps throwing new demands at it. If nothing reinforces the appointment, it starts losing shape almost immediately after it is first heard. No visual cue was built. No ritual confirmed it. No internal scene made it feel concrete and lived. So when the day finally arrives, the appointment does not feel forgotten so much as unreal until too late. This is why people can be sincere, intelligent, and still repeatedly fail at protecting future obligations. The issue is often not memory in the broad sense, but weak encoding of tomorrow under present noise. And once you see that clearly, the pattern stops looking lazy and starts looking structurally human. People who forget appointments easily are often living inside a mind that rarely feels fully settled. Their attention is not empty enough to hold the future in a calm and stable way for very long. It is usually crowded with unfinished thoughts, low-grade stress, shifting priorities, and mental residue. Even when nothing dramatic is happening, their inner world is often louder than it appears outside. So the day is not experienced as one clear timeline, but as a stream of immediate demands and pivots. They move from what is loudest to what is closest, then from what hurts most to what needs fixing. In that kind of mind, future commitments do not always become solid unless something keeps reviving them. This is why the pattern often appears in people who are anxious, overwhelmed, associative, or overstretched. Not because they care less, but because their attention keeps being claimed by whatever feels alive now. Some are constantly recovering from one task while already half losing grip on the next one arriving. Some live in reaction rather than sequence, responding well in moments, but poorly across longer timelines. Some are so used to mental overload that they mistake survival mode for normal daily functioning. And in survival mode, the future becomes thin, almost theoretical, until it suddenly becomes urgent. That is when the appointment reappears with full force, not as a plan, but as a painful surprise. So chronic appointment forgetting is often less about disrespect and more about a life lived too inward. Of course, forgetting appointments has consequences, and pretending otherwise would weaken the truth. Someone was waiting, preparing, adjusting their schedule, or holding open a space specifically for you. And when you do not appear, the absence often lands as something more personal than you intended. To them, it can feel like disrespect, indifference, flakiness, or a quiet message about their value. That sting is real, and any honest explanation has to make room for that side of the experience. But the meaning people feel is not always the meaning that was actually present inside the person. Very often, the appointment was not forgotten because it did not matter, but because it lacked structure. The care may have been sincere, while the mental scaffolding needed to preserve it was never built. And that distinction matters because it separates moral failure from cognitive weakness under pressure. Some people fail at future commitments not because they lack heart, but because they lack anchoring. Their mind holds emotion better than sequence, urgency better than distance, pressure better than plans. So by the time the appointment becomes real, it is no longer a commitment, but a consequence. That does not erase the impact on others, but it does change how the pattern should be understood. What looks like not caring is often a collapse between intention, time, and internal organization. And that is a very different problem from the one shame usually tells you that you have. Getting better at this usually means building systems where memory keeps failing. Not because you are weak, but because intention alone is not enough for you. Alarms, visual cues, calendar rituals, and repeated reminders create support. They give future commitments weight before life has the chance to bury them. You are not always forgetting because you do not care about what matters. You are often forgetting because your mind protects what feels urgent now. And tomorrow stays invisible until it suddenly becomes emotionally expensive. That does not make you selfish, careless, or broken in some secret way. It means your brain needs structure where other people rely on instinct. Subscribe if you want more explanations that make human behavior feel clear.